How's it going, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar, and this is Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And this is Sir Gary Frank, or just Gary Frank?
I've never been knighted, so yeah, still Gary Frank at this stage.
Okay.
Having left the UK, I don't know whether they'll give me a knighthood at this point. I think you have to kind of hang around and
you have to hang around.
Keep your face shown every now and then.
There are certain rules you have to abide by.
Oh, I'm sure.
How are you, sir?
Very good, thank you. And you?
I'm doing okay. We got a snow day here in the state of Kentucky where the kids are out of school, and there's a lot of work to be done. And had some technical difficulties earlier today, but that's okay. Here we are. I told Gary before we got started just how big of a fan I am of his art and his career in comic books, all the way back. I think for me, the first time I noticed your artwork was the Incredible Hulk series.
Okay, yeah, that was the first US stuff I did. Before that, I was doing some Marvel UK stuff. But yeah,
is that where you first started in comics with Marvel UK?
Yeah.
Or did you do something else? Because I know like sometimes people went from Rebellion 2000 AD to Marvel UK, but your first published work...
never really got into the British scene, to be honest. For me, it was always American comics. So I mean, the Marvel stuff. I grew up a Marvel kid, and then I took portfolio work down to the Marvel UK offices down in London periodically, and they kind of kept me going with like little small pieces like illustrations for their annuals and things like that, just to kind of keep me ticking over, keep me learning. And then at some point they branched out and they kind of did their own group of titles under Paul Neary. And I was given one of those. I was given Motormouth and Kill Power. So I did that for a little bit, and then I got a call from Bobby Chase at Marvel US, and then I trotted across the Atlantic to do the big jolly green giant.
So that was your first published American work, then, right?
Yeah.
I've been working on.
Yeah.
And I will never forget, you did, oh gosh, what was it called? It was an amalgam title.
Oh, yeah.
I did. And Diana.
That's right, yeah. Bullets and Bracelets.
That's it, yeah. And I thought, wow, this guy's got range. It's not because I thought you were, you get certain artists that stick to like big characters and that's what they like doing, right? Then I saw your artwork in that, and I'm like, wow, he draws Diana really well. And then the Punisher, this is really cool.
Thanks.
So how is it that you ended up at DC? Because you did a lot of DC work, and especially with Geoff Johns.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It was, well, okay. That was kind of my second stint. So, it's hard now. I'm very old, so I'm kind of trying to remember the order in which things went. So, okay. So I did Hulk for a bit. And I did, I think Supergirl was the next one, which was at DC. And then I did Kin, my create your own thing. And then I did, I was doing some stuff for Top Cow. I did.
You did
Gen 13. Oh, sorry.
No, you did Midnight Nation. I forgot about that. That was great.
Oh, yeah, that came afterwards. Yeah, that came after Gen 13.
Oh, that's right. You did a run on Gen 13. That stuff hasn't been collected yet. I hope one day we will get it, but yeah.
Okay. There was a trade paperback years ago, but I doubt it's in print anymore. I mean,
a lot of those I don't know. Print, but hopefully it'll be in a compendium sometime.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
And then you bounce back to Marvel and then back to DC. You absolutely ripped my heart out with your work with Geoff Johns on Superman, and then you guys did Doomsday Clock, which is freaking masterpiece. Yeah. One of the best Superman stories. I think a lot of people just think that it's a Watchmen sequel, but to me, it's
a Superman story.
Yeah, one of the greatest Superman stories ever.
Thanks.
And then you guys did a series of Year One or Earth One Batman stories.
Yeah.
And you and Geoff have been working before we went live, I mentioned that I just got the Avengers by Geoff Johns omnibus. And that was the first time I remember seeing your artwork with Geoff Johns and also Yvonne Hayes' artwork with Geoff Johns. So it's really cool to see the formation sort of what will eventually become Ghost Machine.
Yeah, yeah.
Its roots back in 2002, 2003 when those stories were coming out.
Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, Jay worked with Geoff as well over at DC for a bit. And so, and then Brian, I know Brian Hitch and Geoff were talking for a long time about doing something. So they kind of had an idea of what they wanted to bring to Ghost Machine. Brian's got a ton of ideas. He's an ideas factory. Oh. I think the frustration for Brian is he's got all of these ideas and there's just like no time for us to like publish all of these books.
So working with Geoff Johns has kind of almost become second nature to you, right? Like it's like you both know what you want out of the page. Is it like working with a different writer? Like when Geoff says, I need Gary, I need this emotional scene. Does he just tell you what he needs, or you just kind of know what he's thinking by now?
I don't know if it. I to be honest, I don't really know what it is in terms of from Geoff's point of view. But I mean, he writes what he kind of wants. If I can think of something, I mean, I try to interpret. I know kind of the sort of stuff he likes. He likes emotional stuff. He likes characters that you can kind of connect with on an emotional level. So I just kind of try to think of ways which I can amp that up a little bit. And if it's something which strays too far from what he's written down, I'll call him and I'll check and I'll say, yeah, thought of a way to maybe get this into the story. And generally, Geoff's pretty open to any suggestion as long as it serves the story and it serves the kind of the emotional core of the story. He'll consider everything.
Now, you two currently working on a series called Geiger, and this is a series that I think. And please correct me because you know the time frame more than I do. That was released back in 2021. I loved it, and I think it was Ghost Machine, but it wasn't quite the imprint that it is now, right?
It was Mad Ghost. Yeah, it was just a creator-owned imprint. It was Mad Ghost at the time, and so at that point, I mean, Geoff, I think, was kind of like talking to Brian and talking to Jay about doing something at that point. But we kind of, we got Geiger out and we got it moving, and we and of course Junkyard Joe, which came out after that, which was a spin-off from one of the characters established in Geiger. So we kind of, the idea was at that point was to kind of start out with a couple of little miniseries and see how they go. And then at some point, we just kind of got a little bit ambitious. We started talking to a few people, and Geoff was kind of hatching out this plan to expand, and this idea of kind of a new type of company. Oh, hi guys! I see the messages popping up at the bottom of the screen.
I'll be popping up some questions for you.
Okay.
So yeah, at what point did you guys decide, hey, instead of being just like this little section of Image Comics, we can do our own imprint, like a bigger thing?
Yeah,
like water.
It just became clear that there was like there needed to be another way, kind of, for us to do something, to kind of to have a more kind of a solid way to approach it, rather than just kind of just doing a series of creator-owned books in a market now where there are so many creator-owned books and such good creator-owned books, and kind of trying to kind of compete into that. I mean, I guess we're confident that we're going to be producing a good book, but at the same time, the idea of kind of building out and having a company where we have far more control over what we do with the with the books and the characters and the properties, and sort of building something kind of a bit more substantial. It just kind of just started to grow and grow and grow, and by the end of those few years of working on Geiger, the idea of a more structured approach was this is probably a little bit boring now because it sounds a bit corporate, but there was an idea kind of having something more of a structure around us, something that we could kind of like work within and kind of control what happens to our characters and to the rights and the things like that. So yeah, it's that's the idea behind Ghost Machine.
Well, I'm glad you guys are doing it, because every book you all put out is just so addicting and such. It's so different than a lot of the things that are going on in the rest of the comic book industry. And I'm not saying that there are bad books everywhere. There's a lot of great books, but every book that you all put out, I get excited for. And the different formats you all are trying. Like, I love this big deluxe edition of Geiger that just came out. I did an overview of volume 2. And I remember the first time I told Geoff Johns this, that when that book came out, that volume 1 came out, I was surprised how big it was for the price point. And also, you don't have a lot of publishers doing that. You have I think it's like the Rick Remender library editions at Dark or Image Comics.
Right.
And it surprised me just how big it was. So yeah, big fan of what you guys are doing, man. And I'm going to tell you something right now. As a guy that, knows what Geoff Johns is capable of doing, like getting used to a character and then stomping on your heart. What is it like to draw for him? Do you have certain rules? Like, okay, look, we're about to start this Junkyard Joe story, Geoff. You can't kill Junkyard Joe or Geiger. Okay, we just introduced Barney, the two-headed dog. Please don't make me kill him, Geoff. Or I'm not. I can't draw this.
Hey, listen, I have absolute faith in Geoff's the master of kind of taking you on those kind of emotional journeys. So he kind of I would always defer to him on those things. He knows what where he's going, and he always, I mean, if you look back through the stuff that he was doing at DC, he always left the characters in better shape than he started with. So he's kind of like a master of getting to the emotional core of a character, and and cleaning it up and kind of setting it off on its way again. So from that point of view, if Geoff tells me to kill Barney, I'll tell him, because I'll kill him, because the fact is I know that it's probably a good idea. It's going to be there for a reason. It's going to serve some greater purpose.
I'm glad you guys are working together. Was the idea always to bring back Geiger? Like, whenever Geiger 1, those first 6 issues came out, you went over to Junkyard Joe, and I remember people were thinking, oh, are they done with Geiger, or are they going to go back to Geiger?
Yeah, I think we knew we would come back to Geiger. I don't think we kind of knew that it would be something that we would. I mean, I'm on issue 22 now. Plus, there's been an extra couple of issues. So, I mean, I don't know if I kind of thought, okay, well, we do like a 6-issue miniseries, and then hop over to Junkyard Joe, and then maybe come back and do another 6-issue miniseries of Geiger, and then maybe do something else. But he's kind of taken on a life of his own now, Geiger, and I think we just kind of are enjoying following him along on his journey. I don't really feel the urge to be doing anything else at the moment. So yeah, for now, I think I'm just happy to just keep pushing forward with Geiger.
Yeah, because you guys did the Ground Zero issues 1 and 2.
Yeah,
and I think Paul Pelletier came on to do a couple of the fill-in issues for Geiger volumes when you were doing that. Great artist. Yeah. I'm a big fan of his as well.
Yeah. He's great. Yeah, it was good. It was good. That's I mean, the reality is, I don't think there are that many comic artists around these days that can put out 12 issues a year. So we just kind of, and particularly the first year or two, it was just super important, I think, that we had Geiger out there on the shelves every month, so that people knew that this wasn't going to be a thing which is going away, that this is a story and a character that's going to be around for a long time. So hopefully we're kind of at that point now where we've got some trust. It certainly seems to be we kind of have a pretty stable number of readers now, so I think people kind of know that there's always going to be, even if we skip the odd month, that there's going to be another Geiger book along at some point. So I think that's kind of important.
Well, I'm glad there is, and I'm glad that, I don't know when this idea came about with Geoff and his universe, the unnamed universe, but I thought it was really cool to see these stories connected. And I think the first one was Junkyard Joe, right? Because we got a little hint of him in Geiger, and then you guys were like, hey, let's just make a comic book about Junkyard Joe, this robot. Yeah. Oh, man, I love that book so much. Love that.
Thanks.
So I'm glad to see him appear. I'm not going to spoil things, but I am glad to see him appear in little cameos from time to time.
Yeah, he's great. He's upcoming as well. We've got a big arc featuring Joe quite heavily. But yeah, he was. I mean, he started out as a kind of as a bad guy, but even at that point, we were kind of like thinking about what else. What else could be? How did he get there? What was he? And
Yes, Geiger Deluxe Edition Volume 2 officially comes out today. So I think it went on sale at cheapgraphicnovels.com, our sponsor, yesterday. But everybody should have it out today. And comic book stores on Wednesday usually is what they do. And it's only got one. There she is. Okay, Danny's got you. It's only got one.
Oh, hey, Danny.
And on sale in comic shops tomorrow. There you go. Everybody support Ghost Machine. Yeah, you guys are killing it. Every book you all put out, I get excited for. And I'm so glad that there's a range, too, with Hyde Street and Rockefellers.
Yeah.
Like, it just seems like different type of stories. You guys are doing your own thing. And
yeah,
I think people, when it comes to these stories, they always want to see crossovers because it's your own universe. And it's got that energy of the first few years of Image Comics with the original Image founders. Like, people just wanted to see, when is Spawn going to get together with Savage Dragon? When is Cyberforce going to fight Wildcats? It was just that same energy, and that's kind of what it reminds me of now. When are we going to see so-and-so appear in another book?
Well, it's kind of happening already. There's a character who will appear in a couple of issues of Redcoat, and then he'll feature heavily in the story, which I'm drawing right now. I think it's probably, I think this is known at this point, the Northerner.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's going to be featuring stories between the two of our books. He's a character that you may have seen on kind of like I don't know, we like where we've got like our timelines and stuff in the books where we talk about characters which are upcoming. So there are characters. We've had kind of like odd flashbacks with characters. So we've had Redcoat has appeared a couple of times in Geiger as well. So yeah, we're building this the unnamed universe out. It's not connected to the other universes.
Like Rook Exodus, right?
Yeah,
I think that's a
different universe. Yeah, but the unnamed characters, they're all part of a shared universe, and it's kind of starting to build out nicely now. It's starting to get fleshed out. It's funny. I mean, the thing which you kind of going back to when we were talking before about kind of starting with a character and doing it for a little while and then moving on to something else, is you don't kind of start to get that feeling of sort of richness and depth in the universe around them. And now I feel like it's easier because I kind of feel like the Geiger universe it feels more kind of real to me. There are characters which you can kind of imagine pop up, the kind of characters which you feel would exist in that universe, as well as characters which already do and kind of will pop up here and there.
Geiger 18 was on sale in shops last week. Geiger 19 is on sale next week with a Jim Lee variant. Well, it's good to see you all still talking to the president of DC Comics. You guys have some. I'm sure you guys have some connections.
Well, Jim and I have been friends for years.
I would assume so. You're such a friendly fellow, as well as, of course, Geoff Johns, right? No bridges burnt. But
yeah,
going back to the story of Geiger and eventually Junkyard Joe, and then spanning it out now with Redcoat, I love the extras in the back of Geiger Deluxe Edition Volume 2. I didn't go over them that much on my overview because I want people to be genuinely surprised and read them for themselves. But you have these things that I wish a lot more collections would do, where it's kind of like letting the reader know where these ideas originated from. And there's one in particular that comes to mind when it comes to Redcoat, because it is a character created by Geoff Johns and Brian Hitch. And Brian Hitch, up until now, had been the only artist that had drawn him, and you wanted to get it right. I thought that was really... It says a lot about you as an artist, that you, even though this character is new, and you've only had one, maybe two different artists have drawn him, you took the time to kind of get to know the character and feel comfortable with him. It's not like drawing Superman. It's not like drawing Supergirl, Batman, Spider-Man. This is a brand new character that you could have been like, okay, he's got a red coat. I've got this. I'm Gary Frank. But you actually took time to get comfortable with him.
No, I mean, like I said, I mean, the core of all of these stories is an emotional core. So, you can't, before you can do anything with the character, you really need to get to know the character. There's no point in just drawing a mannequin in a costume. So yeah, I mean, and the book's great as well. I don't know if, I assume you've read it. Redcoat. It's a great book. It's a really fun book. So I mean, it's no hardship to familiarize yourself with this character.
So you got Geiger. You got Junkyard Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever see yourself going back to Junkyard Joe for more stories? Because you've got quite a number of decades between that and Geiger.
Yeah.
Where's he been?
We kind of we're touching on that in the current story in Geiger.
Okay.
Well, actually, the issues which I'm doing at the moment, not so much, but the issues which came out before the story which I'm on at the moment, we kind of Junkyard Joe comes back in, but we've got big plans for Junkyard Joe. He's going to feature very, very heavily in the next arc, but I don't want to say too much about that. We've kind of hinted at some of the things which are to come with the Custodian. But Junkyard Joe is going to be a big character in the next arc. How long he'll stay, kind of, in the Geiger gang, I don't know. But for now, there's we've got big plans for him.
You and Geoff are two big of the, probably some of the biggest creative voices out there as far as creating new content and new material. And the tough part is, for the way I see it, is it's hard to get people hooked on something new that they're not used to, right? This is a world of the MCU and the DC movies. So people are accustomed to seeing the Avengers and X-Men because of the cartoon, and Spider-Man and the video games. And there wasn't anything like that for Ghost Machine. And you guys took a huge gamble on yourselves, and it paid off wonderfully, because now we're on, I guess this would be this is 2025. This all started in 2021, really. So this is the 4th year going on to the 5th year of the insanity that began with Geiger. It's not an easy task, Gary. So I'm glad that you all stuck with it and kept expanding and expanding.
Thanks. Well, I think we were all kind of ready for a change as well. I mean, we've all been drawing superheroes for many, many years. So if we're going to do something ourselves and kind of start afresh, I don't think I remember Brian talking about he just kind of he got to a point where he'd drawn the last piece of a destroyed building that he wanted to draw, and he just wanted to just be doing something slightly different. So he's got to sort of indulge all of the things which he wants to draw. I've gone the same way. It's just nice to be. It's nice to draw superheroes, but like I said, it's a long career, and when you've been doing it for a long time, you just kind of sometimes you just feel like doing something a little bit fresh and a little bit different.
So I gave you a compliment, because now I have to ask the question. You guys are so creative.
Okay.
Do you two talk about maybe another series, another character, another miniseries that you want to work on? Like, you've got this idea and Geoff's like, "Ooh, yeah, let's do something."
Yeah, not okay. That's it's hard to answer that question. We talk about another series, but it's not necessarily. It's more something that we would do, maybe like a kind of with some of the same characters, but it wouldn't be like a completely fresh thing. But at the moment, I think the way that the company's set up, we're trying to, all of the books, we're trying to kind of keep them out there. As you said, everybody's jumping around these days. People with the films and everything, people kind of get into it, and then the films go away, and then there's well, what do I do now? I think it's important to kind of, if you're going to ask people to kind of make an emotional and a financial investment in a character or a story, you've got to make sure that you're in it for some degree of a long haul. There's no point just doing like a miniseries and then kind of bailing out. I mean, that's great, and that miniseries may be a good miniseries and a good enough thing to kind of stand the test of time. But I think people also want to know. I might be completely wrong, but I think there's a certain amount of people that before they start investing in a new series and a new group of characters, they want to know that there's going to be something there still, that it's going to be something which can continue. So for that, I think it's great for us to be in a situation where we're able to just keep putting this, this book out. Where like I said, this kind of goes back to speaking to the company structure, but a way in which we can just say, okay, let's just relax and we'll just keep doing this story, and for as long as it lasts and as long as there's interest, both from us and from the readers.
As long as there's interest from the readers, how long do you see the series going? Something like Geiger, because with Geiger you have the setup of the main character perhaps looking for a cure and trying to find a home. Eventually that might have an ending, right? Like a definitive ending that Geoff Johns has seen, or maybe not. But is this something that could go on for 5-10 years that you see because you're just having fun doing it?
Really weird coincidence, because the conversation I was having with Geoff before jumping on this podcast was a way of winding up the series, and Geoff kind of like outlined his plan, and it was great. And then almost immediately I started to think, but then how can we kind of get ourselves out of that to come back? Because it's just, like I said, it's just so much fun, and there are so many ideas. It's interesting that you said there was two things going on there. You kind of the idea of a cure as well, which wouldn't necessarily be the end of the series, but we've talked about that as well, and there's sort of a few ideas, relating to that, to what happens if he can cure himself, which obviously would need to be done before we got to any final conclusion to the story. But even getting to that conclusion, like I said, my immediate thought was, okay, but then how do we get out of it? How do we publish a book again the next month? Because it's just, neither of us, I think, it's nice to have kind of a bookend and say, okay, that's that story done. But it's kind of hard to put those toys away and know that you'll never play with them again.
That I'm glad that you said that, because I mean, writers, as you know, they all have a different style when approaching a story. Some of them write and kind of let the characters take over, and then they see where the story goes. And some of them plan ahead, like, okay, look, we've got maybe 40 issues left before I want to kind of come to a conclusion, and this is where we need to go, and then how we get there, we'll just have fun doing it. I'm always curious how a writer approaches a character, especially when you can definitely tell that you and Geoff really love this character and this world, especially when you introduce new supporting cast, which are, from what I've seen, it just keeps growing and growing, not replacing his family, because that's awful, but also like giving him a chance of hope, a chance of like to be human again and to feel like he belongs.
Well, I think you need those characters with a character like Geiger, because he's not immediately a particularly likable guy. He's very, very closed off. He's very traumatized. And so you kind of the emotional touch points in the story often have to come from other characters, and then every so often you see kind of a little glimpse of the humanity which he's squashed down inside himself, that it kind of it creeps out. And so the supporting cast is great, because it allows you to kind of like liberate those little glimpses. It allows you to kind of to say things about Geiger, even though he's kind of stoic and he's not, he's not the kind of guy who's going to sit there on a page and open up about his feelings. So you go, I kind of see where you're coming from. That's not who he is. He's kind of an old-fashioned. He's a kind of an old-fashioned Clint Eastwood character.
Which, man, I love. But I also love characters like Nate. Like Nate has
just become such a great character. It's so funny, because Nate's first appearance was in the 80-page special, and he was conceived as kind of like a bad guy that was going to be something that in the little Redcoat story that Brian did with Geoff, and he was kind of a badass, and so Brian drew him as kind of a badass, and I started drawing him like that. And then as he started to kind of develop in our story, I kind of realized, oh, this is not really who he is. So I kind of made little tweaks to his face and stuff. He appeared briefly in the Ghost Machine #1 that we did on our launch, and I was that was kind of my version of Brian's version. But then once the series started, he kind of took on a little life of his own. So he kind of, I gradually changed the approach to drawing him. But it's great when a character does that. When a character suddenly, we've had these conversations before. Like Geoff has said something like, I had this planned, but the character wouldn't let me do it. The character wanted to do something else. And I've kind of had things where there's been something in a script, and I've said, I don't feel that he would have said that. And so at a certain point, the character, you start to get to know the character enough that he's almost kind of like leading you through the story. So you can kind of throw stuff at him and you can put him in situations, but you kind of get to a point where he's, he leads you and occasionally surprises you. I mean, Geoff said that as well in the past, where something that Geiger's done, he surprised him, but it just felt right.
I like evolutions of characters like that. Like maybe they were supposed to be a one and done type of character, and then it kind of evolves into something else. And a lot of that sometimes has to do with the creators, like either the writer or the artist going, I kind of like this character, and there might be something more to them, or even the readers, like the fans, like, don't you dare kill Barney, please. It's too important. You'd make a nice stuffed animal. And speaking of, how was this experience? Seeing the Geiger action figure announced at New York Comic Con. How was that?
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah,
character, man.
Yeah. It's good. It's great. Yeah. Well, we had Metzko did a Junkyard Joe as well, so we've got a Junkyard Joe. That was an amazing thing to actually get the physical figure in my hands. So I can't wait till I've got the same situation with Geiger. I don't know how they're going to pull it off. It's going to be a very, very difficult thing to achieve, I think. But I can't wait to see what they do with it.
The family and Junkyard Joe
toys are they're so good. I'm sure they'll come up with some imaginative solution for it.
Oh yeah, they're great, and I'm glad that they're able to do one. I know that he's doing Image titles, so it kind of made sense to do one of the most popular characters and make him into a action figure.
Yeah.
The family and Junkyard Joe reminded me of the way you did the Shazam family. Lots of heart in that book. And absolutely. I agree. You and Geoff working on that book as well.
Yeah. That's Geoff. It's a theme. I mean, again, talking about Geiger as well, the thing of family is a theme which kind of crops up again and again. And the key really to Geiger at the end of the day is he's a father. He's a father who's been traumatized by the loss of his family, and he kind of, he doesn't want to replace his family, but on some level, he kind of needs human contact to kind of keep himself human. And the similar themes in Junkyard Joe. I mean, it deals kind of with the idea of post-traumatic stress, and then coming back to a society where you just don't really have anywhere to put your emotions until you find a family. So that was the family is always a key thing, I think, a thread running through Geoff's books.
And there was another question over here. I don't know if you'll be able to remember this. I love the Catwoman's character design in Batman Earth 1. The 2-page spread introduction of her is something I'll never forget. What was the process behind finalizing her design? Because this is a completely different Earth.
Yeah. We kind of kept her sort of slightly fluid. I wanted it. We were ostensibly dealing in a version of Batman and the characters which weren't superheroes and supervillains, and they weren't necessarily going to go and create a costume, and then that would be their identity. So with Catwoman, we kind of I changed her masks and I changed her costume around a little bit because I kind of figured, she wouldn't feel that she needs to go out in a uniform. She doesn't plan on being seen by anybody. So she would just kind of have a little bit of fun with the look of things, and I liked kind of that kind of cat mask thing, with the kind of it was just the idea that she would have a style, and she would just throw on clothes which fit into that style.
So thank you so much for that answer. Oh, this is a great question. If you could redraw any classic comic moment in your style, Which would you?
I wouldn't dare. I'll tell you an experience I had when. Excuse me a second. It was like
No, go ahead.
An experience years and years ago where I had to recreate the gamma bomb detonation with Banner in the foreground, the classic Kirby shot.
Oh, the Kirby, yeah.
Yeah, and so I kind of thought, okay, well, let's look to the position of the arms and the legs and everything in the original. And I thought, I'll take some of that and I'll see if I can kind of basically mimic Kirby's figure, the pose, to try to keep that energy. And then I'll see if I can like add my more detailed, slightly more kind of anatomically restrained approach to that. And I just erased it and I erased it and I tried again and I erased it and I tried it again and I just realized it's just, I mean, that's why Jack Kirby obviously was a genius, but you just can't do it. I mean, you just can't do it. So either you spend 20 years learning to mimic another artist's style completely, or you just have to say, look, the guy's a genius. He's got a style. I'm not going to be able to do that. And I'll just do my thing. But yeah, no, it's you're on a hide into nothing when you're trying really to reproduce a classic moment. So yeah, I would choose any.
It is a hard task to follow up like the King, right? There is a reason why he was the way that he was. Oh, this is a really good question. Is there a Ghost Machine character you haven't drawn yet that you really want to?
No, I think I've probably drawn. Who have I not drawn? I've probably not drawn all of the Hyde Street characters, and I've drawn the Rockefellers. I've drawn. I've drawn a couple of the characters. Yeah, I've done a few covers also on Maytal's books. Yeah, no, I think I don't think there are any characters I haven't drawn at this point. Like I said, maybe a few of the Hyde Street characters, but I'm sure I'll get ranked to them at some point.
Gary, like, do you still have the time to read all the books? Like, it's a shared universe.
Yeah,
you still have because you have to find the time to kind of get.
I don't read them as they come out. I find that's just too. It's just too hard to keep track of what's going on. So I wait for the collected editions.
So you're in the right place, Gary.
Yeah. No, that's the way I approach it. That's the way, to be honest. If I'm going to consume a comic now, that's the way I have to do it. As you get old and your brain starts to lose the ability to retain information,
that's it. It's the getting old part. That's it.
It was fine when I was kind of like 16 and going to the comic shop on a bus and reading stuff on the way home. I remembered every detail from the month before, but unfortunately, the old grey matter is not in such great shape these days.
Dude, I think you nailed it. I think it's just getting old. It's my brain. I'm like, I don't know if I could get 6 single issues and then they're going to get lost somewhere. I'll just get a trade paperback. Yeah. I know. Yeah. But if it wasn't for single issues, there would be no trade paperback nor a deluxe edition. So thank you all to all the Wednesday warriors out there.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I was one at one point. I used to, like I said, I mean, I would come back with my X-Men and read it, or an X Factor and stuff, and read all the stuff on the bus going home.
Oh man, yeah. You just said the magic word, Gary. You said X-Men. Now we just derailed the entire conversation. Was it the Claremont era of X-Men?
Yeah, it was. It was. So I've had kind of 2 sections in my comic reading life. So when I was a kid, I couldn't get it was kind of pre-comic shops, or maybe they're all comic shops, but basically I came into comics through Marvel UK's reprints and through there was a newsagent near my grandmother's house, and every so often we'd go and visit her, and I'd go in and see if there was anything new, but you could never kind of guarantee a complete story. You could never get one book after the other. So it was that was always hard to kind of follow stuff, but I would still pick up anything that I liked. I used to like the team ups because of the fact that they were always a single story in an issue, and that was great. Then the second one is kind of I kind of as I became an older kid, I kind of, I sort of drifted away from it. And then I drifted back in again in my later teens. And then at that point, there was a comic shop called Forever People in Bristol, and I would get the bus in, and I would get, it was a very exciting time actually as well. I mean, I'd got like the Claremont stuff, I'd got the Phoenix stuff and the Dark Phoenix stuff in trades, but I kind of missed it when it was coming out on the shelves in that kind of that period. But at the point where I was getting back into it, there was still Claremont, and it was the Mark Silvestri stuff with Mr. Sinister, and there was I loved the Wolverine stuff, the John Buscema Wolverine stuff.
Oh yeah.
That was just a great period to be getting into comics again.
Oh, what a great that was such a great era. But the beauty of telling that story is that
I think Claremont was on Excalibur as well. Sorry to interrupt, but going back to Claremont, Claremont was doing Excalibur at that. So I think that was I remember jumping on number 1 on that. So that was kind of in that period. So yeah, he was doing Excalibur with Alan Davis.
Let me tell you something right now, Gary, Frank. You never have to apologize interrupting me about Chris Claremont ever.
Okay. Okay.
ever have to apologize for that. I mean, come on, you got to get Excalibur. It's Chris Claremont writing about mutants over there. Come on, that's and Alan Davis is beautiful.
And Alan Davis,
beautiful artwork. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He's just so good.
There's a lot of love for you in the comments, Gary. My favorite artist of all time, loving Geiger, all time.
Thank you, CLS Rocks. 007. Don't want to miss that bit.
Gary Frank is top tier, Frank Frazetta level and beyond. Look at that.
Thanks. That's very, very nice of you to say. But I think there was only one Frank Frazetta.
Yeah, we're all here for good derailment of X-Men. Come on. One of my favorite. Hey, DP, how are you, brother? One of my favorite comic book artists. As I see that all the time, man. Like seriously. You're a legend. You mentioning, that's what I was going to say. You mentioning Chris Claremont's X-Men, Chris Claremont's Excalibur, Alan Davis on artwork, or how a lot of people feel about, oh my gosh, that's the guy that did Incredible Hulk and Supergirl with Peter David, or that was the guy that did my favorite Superman. Like my favorite Superman story is that Brainiac story that you and Geoff did. I lost my dad last year in October.
Sorry.
After New York Comic Con. Yeah, it was awful. He was my best friend. And that story means so much to me. Thank you, sir. That story now just means so much more to me. And it was something that you all put together. It's magical. It's beautiful. It's heartbreaking, but it's a very important story. And my point was that that's the way people feel about you. It's like the way you feel about Chris Claremont and now on Davis. People go back and look at you, and now they're like, "Oh man, now he's working on this book. That's awesome. I'm in."
I mean, yeah, I that's great. If people feel like that, I mean, that's the dream, I guess. I mean, those were the guys that kind of got me into this in the first place. Just wanting to kind of contribute to something in the same way that they did, something that into that kind of world. So yeah, no, that would be lovely to think that there was somebody that's kind of feeling the same way about our stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I think it is definitely there. A book that no one talks about is actually brilliance. Midnight. We mentioned it earlier. Midnight Nation. That was a great book.
Read it, you cretins! Wow. Okay, how can you refuse?
Supreme Power is also excellent. Also, Wednesday Warrior. Name is Loheed. If you ever come to Toronto, I would love to meet you. He is inviting you to his house.
Okay.
Frank, Fabok, and Finch, the triple F greatest artists in comics. That's the thing about Ghost Machine. You guys have pulled the talent. My gosh. You guys have some of the greatest creators working over there. You got my boy Tomasi. I love that guy.
Oh, yeah. He's great.
And Jeff, Brian Hitch. Oh, the legendary Gary Frank, Francis Matapool. And you guys bring the energy. On a more serious question, this is probably one that's got to be tough to answer. Your amount of detail that you put in each panel is insane. I love it. I'm here for it.
Okay, thank you.
How has that affected you when keeping up with a monthly title over the years?
Disastrously, if we're being honest.
Okay.
The thing is, though, it just came to a point where I earlier on in my career, I really fell in love with that sort of super clean style. I'm a big Jaime Hernandez fan. I just think he's just the greatest. And I fell in love with that super clean style. I loved Steve Rude. I loved Alan Davis. I loved all of these guys that were kind of, had a cleaner style. And I tried to sort of to do it, I guess, at that period where you're kind of you're picking your influences and you're trying to fold them into your own style because you admire them so much, and it just was never really natural for me. I just thought that it just never really worked for me. I always had that kind of it was something I was forcing myself to do. I was thinking too hard about why I was about what I could clean up rather than just getting the hell on and doing the drawing. So I mean, at some point, I just kind of relaxed and said, "Look, you want to do the textures, you want to do the details, just relax and do it." And it helps when you're inking yourself. Funnily enough, I'm actually quicker inking myself than I am penciling for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Because my penciling at this point is just reduced so much to just like little kind of hardly interpretable sketches, and then I enjoy working into everything with the ink. But I think it just comes at a certain point where you just have to not put so much thought into trying to force your style into a way that into something you will like, and just say what is your style and just kind of let it go. And so it's very unfortunate, but unfortunately my natural style is just tons of little lines and detail. I don't know why. It just happens. I'm not satisfied until I've done that and my hand hurts.
As a collected editions guy, it's something that I do think about often. I don't know if everybody else that collects collected editions thinks that too. How long something takes. Because we're so used to these books just coming out every 6 months or every year. And it's not like going to the shop every month for your issue of Geiger, and every comic book company goes through this. Every comic has gone through a delay, or like, oh, it's not going to be out till next month, and then that becomes 2 months. And we saw it happening. Back in the early days of Image, my gosh, just about every one of the series, with the exception of Savage Dragon and Spawn. Now Spawn had delays too. It had delays. It was insane, and it's not easy. But when you get it in collected editions, it's like, oh, it's all here. Wow, that was a really quick read. That must have taken no time at all to put together.
Yeah, I can tell you that when you kind of get as the guy that's drawn the thing, when I get a book like that and I flick through a big thing, I mean, maybe like a big hardback, like an absolute edition or something, and I go back and then I just remember how much of, because you kind of like, you remember where you were at that time, you remember what you were listening to, and things like that, and you realize that these things do just cover huge amounts of your life, producing these things. And it's just I mean, there is often the question of, how come these guys in the audience, how come, Jack Kirby could produce, 10 books a month and everything. I mean, some of it, Joe Kubert was just like incredibly fast. And part of the answer to this question as well, Joe Kubert or Jack Kirby are geniuses. These do not come along very often. But there's also an element of fashions change and people like to see more detail, and the market will bear what the market will bear. I don't know if somebody comes to a book and they've already look, for instance, myself, if we're talking about myself, people now they know what my style is, they know my expectation. If I they have an expectation of what I'm going to be producing. If I suddenly turned in a book which was like kind of really spare and stripped down and lacking in detail, and people would know that it's not coming from a good place from me. They would know that I'm doing it because I need to hit a schedule. So they know what they're expecting from me. So I do that. not to meet the expectation, but because their expectation is correct. They know my style. They know that something different to that would be for a not good reason.
Yeah, I love hearing that answer because especially once you get used to the art style that you have, because your art has evolved over the years, and now it seems like you're just, I don't want to use the word comfortable because I guess that could mean that you could draw with your eyes closed and move on to the next issue. But it seems like always has remained for a while, this certain style that you've had.
Yeah, I think you just gradually, when you're young, you leap around from influence to influence, and you see somebody, you see Jim Lee has done a thing. You say, hey, I need to put that into my artwork. Oh, Adams has done a cool thing. I would like to put some of that, and you can do that. You're a little kind of powerhouse, a little furnace, and you're just throwing all of the fuel in, and it keeps you going. And in those years, it's all about learning. It's all about getting the basis of all of the things which are going to form your style later on. But then if you're at my age and you're still like kind of leaping around like that, I don't think it's kind of possible. I mean, at a certain point you settle into your groove, into what you're doing. And I'm not saying for 1 minute that I feel I'm comfortable and I've stopped learning. I still will see somebody will handle a cheekbone and I'll say, oh, I need to make a mental note of that because that would work in my style. That's the kind of effect, that's the kind of face I would like. That's what I'm aiming for, and they've just showed me a better way of achieving it. So I'm still kind of always trying to do that, but there comes a slowing down. I think there's another thing as well. I talked to Brian about this because I think he's, we're a similar age. We came up through similar backgrounds in the UK. We're working at Marvel UK, so we've kind of, and we're also sort of finding ourselves finally at this point in our career, the same company doing similar things. And I think there's a thing when you're young as well, you think it's all about the drawing and you think it's all about the line work and it's about the ciphers that you're putting down. So you're trying to build a palette out of looking at other people's work and saying, okay, that works and that works, I can put that in. And sometimes you kind of, you take a wrong turn and you try to get something in which is just not going to work with your style. And I think that's probably something which I was hinting at earlier on when I was talking about the cleanliness, that kind of spare, clean line. But that can only last so long. That trying to always work on the drawing, just producing the drawing that you want, the line work that you want, that can only last so long. You can only keep improving that kind of thing for so many years. So as you get older, if you want to, you either kind of start treading water and you just say, okay, I'm comfortable now, I've got this nailed, or you find some other way to kind of to push yourself on to a thing that's going to keep you moving forward. And for me and for Brian, it was the storytelling aspect of it. Is how can we tell the story better? So instead of concentrating so much on the actual drawing itself, it's what serves the story, and just like trying to find little techniques, trying to find ways of getting that initial feeling when you read the script of, okay, this is going to happen, and you see it kind of cinematically in your head unfolding. How is what is the best way to translate that to a page? And at that point, are there kind of things that I can do? What are the moments which stand out more strongly, and what can be emphasized, and what can be replaced? What can be handled in a better way from a storytelling perspective? So for me these days, is the key is always the storytelling.
You beautifully put. Oh, storytelling, man. And gosh, you guys, you mentioned Brian Hitch and you being around the same age and coming up at the same time. So I went through a similar period like you did, and a lot of us do. The more you read comics, especially in your teenage years, growing up, you're a child and you read comics, you get into teenage years and you're like, I think I need a break. There's other hobbies out there. I remember when Brian Hitch came on Marvel, and I thought his art was very reminiscent of Alan Davis. And I think he came over from the Marvel UK group. And then when I came back to comics, he had worked on The Authority. and it was just a game changer. Like,
Yeah.
wow. And forever since then had changed and kind of paved the way for that summer blockbuster type of double page spread, widescreen cinematic look to comics.
It's incredible the stuff that he does.
You guys
the sets.
doing the same. You guys have been doing the same over at not Geiger. I'm sorry, Ghost Machine. You're killing it with this. Like some of the things like that you've done. So I got to ask you. This is a really great question. Do you remember what the single page of art took you the longest to work on was?
Oh. I couldn't tell you the specific page, but one thing I will say is it probably wouldn't be the thing that you think of in that most people would look and say, oh, it's clearly the thing where there's the most line work and the most detail, and it's probably not that. It's probably more likely the page which was the most frustrating in terms of communicating a particular thing and struggling with that, or maybe a figure that had to communicate a particular thing or be in a certain position and working with stuff like that. It's almost always those kind of things which slow you down, rather than just like the process of putting a line on the page. I think in the same way as I said, I'm probably quicker when I ink now than I would be penciling. I'm also probably quicker putting in that detail than I would be continually trying to force myself to edit stuff down, to remove it, to take things out.
This is a question. Thank you for the super chat, Yamada. Can we get a deluxe edition of Superman Brainiac? Oh man, I love that.
Don't ask me. I would be cool with it. Yeah.
Of course, you guys had an absolute edition recently of.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. If you ever wanted to see his Gary Frank's work, that's the kind of edition his art needs, like to appreciate it, which is why I love these big deluxe editions from Ghost Machine. Maybe one day we'll get that. Maybe one day.
Yeah, I'd also like to do at some point, because some of the things I've got the Marvel UK stuff. A lot of the stuff that they reprinted, they did it in black and white. So I kind of grew up on black and white stuff, even though it was originally printed in color in the US. And no offense to the wonderful Mr. Anderson, who colors our stuff beautifully, but I would quite like to also do a couple of black and white versions of our books as well.
Well, wow, Loheed has a lot of questions for you.
Okay, let's get started.
What is your drink of choice? This is a good one. What is your favorite drink of choice?
I'm a whiskey guy, so yeah. I mean,
Bourbon
which whiskey would depend on whatever bottle I've got on the go at home at the time, but yeah, I'm a whiskey man.
Are you talking bourbon or Scotch whiskey?
More Scotch, but I mean, yeah, bourbon too. I like an old fashioned, so I get through a bit of bourbon as well. I've noticed a worrying tendency over here recently for them to start putting soda in it, which I find unforgivable. So you have to keep correcting them.
Soda, huh? I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah.
What's the football team you support? Somebody else was asking about you.
Liverpool FC.
Yeah, that's what they were asking. Ask Gary how Liverpool's doing.
Oh, I can imagine there's a lot. Well, we won the last match finally, so yeah, okay. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of Schadenfreude around after we won the league last year.
You've been drawn for a long time and have worked on many characters, but when you took on Superman, it created big buzz, and I noticed a major evolution in your style. I think you talked a little bit about this. Could you tell us about that evolution? We were talking about being inspired when you're younger. So
there's another story to be told in this, actually, in that I did. People have mentioned Midnight Nation, and I did Midnight Nation before I came back to start doing superheroes again. And I noticed there was a hangover because Midnight Nation was a very bleak and dark story, and I noticed that during that period, my figures became like kind of more haunted and more gaunt, and the eyes became kind of like more haunted. And it took a little while for me to work that out of my system. And I noticed it was kind of fortunately in the Legion story, it kind of worked because we were dealing with a Legion that was, they were kind of in trouble, and the world had kind of gone in a not great direction. So the Legion were kind of, they weren't like these fresh young kids, these heroic characters. They were like kind of these hunted underground kids that were trying to save the world. And so for that, it kind of worked a little bit. But I did notice as I was going through that, I thought, okay, I need to also start to work some of that out of my style. You always carry a bit of each project, I think, into the next, and you need to kind of like be aware of which bits you're going to pick to keep on incorporating, and which bits maybe just kind of like served a particular story at a particular time. But yeah, Midnight Nation and Supreme Power, Squadron Supreme, they were all kind of, all the stuff I did with JMS, they were all kind of like very hard-edged stories. So I think my art kind of like, it absorbed a little bit of that. But then with Superman, which was kind of throughout my Superman run, my style became kind of more lighter, more kind of, I don't know, just kind of return to something, I suppose, which kind of felt more appropriate for a classic story in Metropolis.
Light to give us hope. That's why. That's why it changed. I'll take a couple more questions because I know Gary's been really kind with his time. What artists influenced your style the most early in your career, would you say?
For early in my career, there were three. There were Jim Lee, who was just breaking at that time and taking the world by storm. There was Alan Davis, which as a young kid working at Marvel UK, was, he was a god. And Art Adams, Art Adams is still probably my favorite artist. It's not necessarily a guy that I can incorporate any of his stuff into the stuff which I'm doing now. Maybe some of the line work, because I love his. I just love the way he kind of just like, I don't know, this sort of almost Zen, like, okay, now I'm gonna hatch into this, and I just love it. There's a feeling of somebody kind of like operating on a level where they're kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but kind of like in the zone, I guess. And I like that. And so yeah, I still love Art Adams's work. Those were my main three.
I love that you mentioned Jim Lee, seriously, because as you were drawing, he was blowing up. So it's really cool to see you influenced by somebody, one of your peers, technically.
The weird thing was I didn't realize that he was also so new. At the time, I mean, I thought I discovered Jim Lee. I didn't realize I was looking at the first stuff that he'd really been doing. The stuff which was just coming out. So. Yeah, I remember taking a portfolio to Archie Goodwin when he was over for I don't know if it was Glasgow or the London or the UCAC convention, and he asked me what my influences were, and I said, at the moment, Art Adams and Jim Lee, and he said, oh, those are both good guys. And I just assumed that Jim was somebody that I'd only just discovered, but had probably been working for years, because his stuff looked kind of like, his style seemed so finished. Obviously, I know now that he's kind of evolved a lot, after that. But at the time, that was just at the moment when I was coming back in. Like I said, that was the period with Silvestri and doing the X-Men stuff.
Oh, I love that era.
Absolutely,
that's a great era. The page of Midnight Nation where you have to hold it up to the light to see the next page at the same time to read the dialogue is pure genius. That was a really cool idea. We've seen it just recently in Absolute Martian Manhunter. They did the same thing, but that was Midnight Nation. That was decades ago.
Yeah.
Not to make you sound old, because you're not.
I'll take it. I mean, I'm still here and I'm still kicking. I'm okay with
it. Gary, so you've got, let's see, Geiger Deluxe Edition Volume 2 coming out today and tomorrow at your local comic book stores. You've got Geiger, what was it Danny said, the single issues, there she is. Okay, Geiger 18 on sale last week, and Geiger 19 is on sale next week, December 10th, with a Jim Lee variant. So you've got the deluxe edition of Junkyard Joe, Geiger Volume 1, and again, the absolute edition of Superman by Geoff Johns and Gary Frank. Peter David's run on The Incredible Hulk has been collected in omnibus format. Volume 3 has a majority of work by Gary Frank, and then he came back on the book later on during the World War Hulk and Planet Hulk era. You've got Supergirl by Peter David releasing in DC Finest format with Gary Frank's art, and hopefully one day we will get that in an omnibus format. But you are all over the place, my guy. I love it. And in collected editions, which is the way we love reading books here. Single issues too. Yeah, single issues too. And let's see here. Let me ask this one. Hey, Gary, like your stuff, and I also got to ask, were you also influenced by Gil Kane and Alan? Well, you mentioned Alan Davis, but
Alan Davis, yeah, certainly. Gil Kane less so. I mean, yeah, I love his stuff, but it was not really a particular influence. It's funny that you say that, Charlie, but people often come up to me and they say, "Oh, I can see that you were clearly influenced by Brian Bolland." Is one that I get a lot. People think that I'm influenced by Brian Bolland, and also Steve Dillon. And I don't. I mean, presumably, if I was, it's kind of subconscious. But I don't know. I wonder if it's also because there's maybe a sensibility or a perception of British artists that we kind of come from the same stable. But I think a lot of those guys come out of also British books, whereas I was always obsessed with American books. So it's odd that I've got a style which kind of also has elements which are in common with other British artists.
And the last question for today, because I've seen this pop up a lot.
Can make a comeback?
Come back.
I don't know. At this point. I mean, I wanted to do 3 volumes of that. That was the one with the series which came out. The 6 issues were supposed to be part 1 of 3. I don't know. I mean, never say never, but there's just so much stuff going on now with Ghost Machine that I don't know. I can't really see it happening. Maybe if somebody collars me at a convention one day, I'll kind of talk about the plan for the way that I saw the rest of the series going.
Oh, that would make it for a really good conversation. Yeah, because
and I've already said what my favorite drink is, so now they know how to secure that conversation.
I want to thank Gary Frank for his time today. Thank
you, Omar.
Absolute pleasure to get to talk to you, one of my favorite comic book artists of all time.
Thank you very much.
Living legend and a true gentleman. And a big shout out to my buddy Danny at Ghost Machine for setting it all up. And yeah, and you guys just keep coming out with that great stuff, man. I will keep talking about it and spreading the word. And lots of fans already of Ghost Machine. Hopefully we'll make some more after this interview. So thank you. Thank you so much. Hopefully.
Thank you very much. Thanks everybody. Thanks for supporting the company. And onwards.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day.